Welcome to Behind the Smoke Podcast, Barbecue War Stories. My name is Sean Walchef with Cali Comfort Barbecue. We are recording above the butcher shop in Spring Valley with my man Derek Marso from Valley Farm Market. What's going down, brother?
Not much. Just getting ready for this beautiful holiday. Got Christmas coming up, so we got a lot of prime rib orders, turkey orders, a bunch of stuff going on, and just pushing through with the La Jolla progression. And it's a busy time of year, but it's fun and exciting for sure.
Yeah, one of the coolest things for us with this podcast is we've been able to touch a lot of different topics. We had Prince Tiger Smalls on last week, a couple weeks ago, and he ended up winning his title fight down in Tijuana. WBC champ. So both him and Andy appeared on the podcast, and that weekend they won their title fight. So we're 2-0 hosting fighters on this podcast.
It's pretty cool. They're both extremely, extremely good fighters too, and great people. So we're stoked for them and what they do. I mean, those guys grind hard at the gym. They grind us hard at the gym. Prince is my trainer on Mondays, and Andy trains me on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, along with Sean. So it's great to see them do it. A lot of times we get to just see them as trainers and don't get to see them actually work, and then watching them do what they do. They're just crazy bulldogs. They're wild.
Yeah, and one of the other things about this podcast is it's allowed us to talk to some of the people that we respect in San Diego media, people that have been on the radio, people that have been in TV, people that put out awesome articles, online articles, whether it's in barbecue, whether it's in food, whether it's in hospitality, business. For us, it's just a really cool thing to develop deeper relationships and find out really what the fuck happens on the business side, less on a PR side, but more on a behind the smoke side. So today we get Chris Cantore, who's somebody that has been on the radio my entire life. I don't want to date you too much, but you've been a legend, 91X, been holding it down, and really the coolest part is what you're doing now, and you've created a new digital media company called YEW Media. Welcome to Behind the Smoke, my man.
Yeah, thanks. I really appreciate it, guys, and just wanted to start by saying, first of all, as far as the environment is concerned, this market's incredible.
Oh, thank you, man.
I walked in here, and I'm originally from the East Coast.
Sure.
And I was like, whoa, the smell. I haven't smelled this since I lived back east, which was eons ago when I was a little kid, but it immediately took me back, like my grandfather walking me into an old school market and just smelling the meat, and it really brought me back.
Yeah, and that's actually
awesome.
Something that we're really, with the progression of doing a new store and stuff, is that I never want to lose this feel.
Yeah.
And it's something that I actually didn't like when I was younger, go home smelling like meat and barbecue all the time. And, but now it's just something that people can relate to.
Yes.
They come in and it triggers something in their mind. They enjoy it. It's authentic. It's who we are.
Made me think of my Grandpa Joe the second I walked in here, man.
Yeah.
And the vibe, just the way the place is set up, it's a really cool, comfortable space. So I just wanted to say that. And then in regards to this podcast, you guys are doing such a cool thing here. I just really wanted to let you guys know that, just as someone who is still I think we're all learning when it comes to the platform and the space, but you guys are doing it right, and just wanted to commend you. I need to step up my game looking at how you guys have things set up here.
No, this is
I'll tell you.
We just threw this together. It was weird when it all came together. It was, Sean being in true Sean form, kind of just saying, hey, we're going to do this podcast. Let's do it. Let's go. And I'm like, okay. We didn't have anywhere to do it. And we couldn't do it at 8911 where his office is, because he has people coming in and out all the time.
Sure.
And I had this area, which was really just a catch-all. And it had no walls. It was just kind of like a ran down. We were through all the shit that we didn't want to see for a long time.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, well, let's get all that out and see. We reframed the floors and did stuff and put up a wall. I'm like, okay, this can actually happen. So we did it. It was kind of like just a hodgepodge. I helped my buddy, and we just framed everything up and did it. And these tables, these chairs, I went on Craigslist. I got them for $100.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
That's my way.
Right.
And just even how you're just handled the booking process and the follow-up process. There's just a level of professionalism that I really admire, and it's, again, something that I need to get better at. So I commend you.
You have no idea how much that means coming from someone like you that has been in the industry. I mean, the guests that you've had, the people that you've been able to talk to and interview in your career in broadcasting, that means a lot to Derek and I. And, we're just fucking around here putting out a podcast, hoping that, people that care about business, people that want to open up a barbecue restaurant, people that care about hospitality, or they just maybe they want to start their own fucking podcast. The cool thing is that people all over the world can relate to stories. And for us, selfishly, we get to learn from the people that, take the time to come down here and record above the butcher shop. So we get to hear their stories. And, for us, that's part of the coolest part about it.
I get it, man. I totally get it. That's what I love about the platform the most, especially, when you look at radio and everything, and that medium is delivered in such bite-sized pieces, that I do love the long form of podcasting, and that's something that always intrigued me to the platform. And you look at just, you guys have been doing it for a while, and it's no coincidence that people like Conan O'Brien, what did he just cut his TV show down a half hour, and the first thing he does is launches a podcast.
Yep.
And then you've got Will Ferrell and everyone at Funny or Die, they're jumping on board and resurrecting the Ron Burgundy thing for a podcast. So it's just cool when you see people who have been doing it for a while, like yourselves, and the movement is just starting, in my opinion. It's been in this embryonic stage for about 10 years, and now it really is something that's becoming more viable and something I need to get better at. It's a discipline, as you guys know. It's not easy.
Well, we've been admiring your podcast. I mean, the people that you've had on just in the short time that you've been podcasting as opposed to doing the radio. I mean, you have an epic podcast. You have a network. Right?
Yeah. I've been fortunate, and it's still, and I would say this, it's still in its early stages, but yeah, we started a little podcast network couple of years ago, just under the name YEW, and I've got my show, which is just an interview show. And although I haven't done one in a while, and I feel like a total jackass, I feel so bad you don't even know. But my dear friend Chris Cote hosts an action sports podcast on our network with former pro snowboarder Todd Richards, who's also a commentator on NBC during like the X Games and the Winter Olympics and stuff. They host a podcast together called the Monday Mass on our little network, along with a beer show by the name of Let Me Drink About It that my friend Jacob Nikos does with another guy, Jake. Really good dudes, and I've known Jacob for years here in town, just in the local craft beer community. And then we have a cannabis podcast that we're in the process of rebooting. That's going to be down at a dispensary in Mission Valley by the name of March and Ash. And so that's kind of fun. And then we have another one we just launched with a comedian by the name of Vicky Barbalak, who was on America's Got Talent. She was a finalist this last round. She's from Oceanside. Yeah, and she started one on the network called Trailer Nasty. So that's kind of what we're working with now. And I've taken a break, to really kind of focus a little bit on the network and how we are going to grow and what does 2019 look like for us.
What does 2019 look like?
Hopefully everyone can get paid. That's really what we're working on. It's really hard starting something with no capital.
No, for sure.
And that's what we did. We started something with no capital, and a lot of people have just been doing this for the love of the cause, down for the cause, as we call it. And it's hard. It's hard sometimes because, these are talented people and you want to make sure they're getting compensated for their efforts. But everyone in the network has the ability to monetize within their own shows. And that's what people have done. I don't take a piece of anything.
Right.
I pay for all the hosting. I pay for, all the distribution that needs to be done. But other than that, people can monetize within their own shows. And I don't take a piece or anything.
Well, it's cool because it allows the others to, how often the X Games come around? Not so often. So it allows them to have an outlet to be able to talk and do things, and this whole cannabis thing, being able to legalize it and it's coming out. I mean, we're starting to sell CBD oil now.
Oh, yeah.
Like just everything, the benefits people are seeing. it's going to be a big topic because I think a lot of people just have always known it as just a narcotic that's just such a bad thing. And now you're starting to see there's so many health benefits to it. And to have a podcast where you can actually learn about it is something really, really cool. And I can turn it off when I don't want to listen to that shit anymore. And I can turn it back on. So it's just an amazing platform. I think for forever, I never thought I could listen to something for an hour, whether it be fucking music or whatever. My ADD kicks in. I can't do it.
I get it.
I listen to podcasts all the time now.
Yeah.
I never thought I would. And
well, you have to build a community.
Yeah.
And they got to get to know you guys as humans. That's part of it. But that's also sometimes the hard part because there's a delicate balance. You don't want to be narcissistic and selfish and, it's all about me and us. But that's also how... you do build that loyalty and that sense of community. So it really is finding that balance. And I've struggled with that myself. How do you get that balance right? And that's why I do like this. I was just talking to a buddy of mine on the way over here. He's a professional photographer. He actually shoots for the Padres. He wants to start a photography podcast on the network.
Cool.
And I was explaining, I was like, the reason why I love it so much is it's like, I don't play golf, but anytime I talk to a golfer, they're like, the thing they love most about the game is you go out there one day and you can think you're Tiger Woods, and the next day you're friggin' a hack. You're like, I don't even belong on this course. Right. And that's how I feel as a broadcaster and a podcaster. There are days where I'm like, there's a reason why I'm doing this, and other days where I'm like, I shouldn't be doing this. I'm not cut for this.
Right.
Either I don't have the talent, or in a lot of cases I don't have the thick skin sometimes necessary to really forge a path. And just media in general, especially as you learn more about yourself in life and what makes you tick and all that stuff,
Now that is something you have to be very self-aware of what's going on, and it's sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you got to look in that.
My biggest failures in life, not being more self-aware and just getting wrapped up in the madness,
right?
But
it's also amazing because it's just part of the process of life, and it's just
agreed. It applies to everything.
Absolutely, you just go through it, and it's a lot of times people want to get so overexcited or mad about things, and it's not about that. It's just about going through the process and learning from it, and learning like, okay, this didn't work, or this wasn't the right thing. Okay, let's learn from it and move forward. And once you can do that, I've been trying for the past few years, is just really focusing on like, hey,
hard, man.
This is life. This is the process. We're only here for.
How old are you?
I'm 35.
Yeah, man. So you're still young.
Yeah.
No, and I'm not saying that like I'm this old grizzled freaking dude, but I've only figured it out the last couple of years, and I'm 48.
Right.
And I can tell you that. And it wasn't necessarily ego as much as survival. You just get in this situation where you're just trying to survive in your business, your home life, whatever it is. And when you hit that zone, for me, it became a fight or flight thing.
Now, is this kind of why you did like the YEW and stuff like that, where it's just like really focus on what you love?
Yes.
And
there's no question, man.
And then that makes you want to wake up every morning and do it. And it's not about trying to put on this personality or doing something that you feel fake. And I'm not saying you do. I'm just saying like, it could happen.
Oh, I have felt fake. Yeah. I have had a hard time. That's why I have struggled, on terrestrial radio when I'm tasked by management to do stuff that I don't want to do. You can say, oh, he's a total dick or a prima donna, or you can just say, I'm just trying to be real.
Right.
And that was always my MO. Unfortunately, that worked to my disadvantage at times because you end up out of work and you have a family. And then I struggle with how could I have handled myself better in that situation?
Right. But I think a lot of people really, really resonate with authenticity, and they can feel when people aren't being themselves. I can feel it all the time. I'll listen to something and I'm just like, nope, not for me. Nope, not for me. When people are trying to push an agenda on you that you can just feel it's not really who they are.
The problem is when people use that authenticity against you.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah, I've never really had that happen.
You're lucky.
Yeah. I'm just, I'm fortunate.
That's how you become grizzled.
Yeah.
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 I mean, I think one of the things I love listening to your podcast, and when you and Kaplan had a great conversation just about sports radio and kind of your stint at Mighty 1090, but more about your career on terrestrial radio, talking about vulnerabilities and things that you want to talk about as a man. And I remember Kaplan's always talked about the things that listeners interact with him about are the stuff when he talks about his kids
Yeah.
or Little League. And they never fucking remember the Chargers score, and they never remember, what happened in the Padres game, but they'll always relate to the things when you talk about life.
No question. No question. And that's because I'm sitting here with you right now, okay? And this is the first time we've ever talked.
Yeah.
And you know what the first thing I think about when I walked in here? It's not your barbecue. It's a video you posted of you and your kid at Coronado and you laughing. And I thought you had the fucking best laugh I've ever heard. And
That's
this interaction
awesome.
you had with
That's
your
awesome.
kid. And that's what I remembered about you. That's what I remember
awesome.
most. So I agree with that sentiment. But that also relates to, you're talking about yourself all the time and talking about your kids all the time. And I've had programmers and management say, no one gives a shit. Right. No one cares. Get over yourself. Right.
But isn't there...
Like, that's not... I am over myself.
Right.
It's just part of my method. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Yeah. I don't know, man. What do I know?
You have to find that I guess happy medium and
exactly
how,
that
where it balance to where it works for everybody. Sean and I are very different. I tend not to put my kids on anything, social media or anything like that. I
Smart.
try to protect
I don't
them.
either.
And that's just and Sean's very open with his family and that, and it's not
which I totally get too.
It's not a right or wrong. There's no right or wrong to it at all, and it's just what works for you in your life. But there's probably times that I might need to do it a little bit more, and people want to know.
I do it,
bit.
yeah. I actually do want to retract that statement. I do it, but I'm very careful.
Right.
I'm not, I don't know. I'm just real careful about it.
Yeah.
Just, I err on the side of caution. Yeah. If I shoot a picture of my son playing baseball, he's wearing a hat. It's a sideways profile and it's him hitting something, I'm proud.
Right.
Or my daughter, maybe from a different angle where it's not necessarily her face staring at you.
Right.
But I do think it's a balance because, on the other hand, I keep my wife completely private. Mm-hmm. Like you will rarely see me post a picture or even talk about my wife online for that matter.
I don't know why it's like such a not you choosing to do that, but like just if you think about like the guests that we've had on, if I Google, it'll always be like Scott Kaplan. It'll be Scott Kaplan's wife. It'll be like the next search result.
Landon or Nick
Donovan,
Hardwick,
like
too.
Whoever it is, it's always like, why do they want to know who your wife is so bad?
Isn't that interesting?
It's really weird.
It's funny
and then
you say
Tabitha
that.
Lipkin comes on and says everyone wants to know about her toes. Like, that's so fucking weird.
I just want to know about her ass. That's interesting. And that's kind of plays into what, my theory was. And I kind of made the decision a long time ago. And the reason is just because I was like, okay, if I'm living this quote unquote public persona, what's one thing that I can just keep that's sacred, that's just mine, that no one else can have access to? Like, I'll talk about my wife on the air, but I always like keeping my wife just chill, just kind of there. It's just my wife. I just real private about my family. I really am.
Just kind of you saying that kind of makes me realize kind of what I do is I in the same way kind of do the same thing where it's I don't want to be on my phone at home, and I don't want to be when I just want to engage with my kids and have like that's my escape from the shit I have to do every day over here. So when I do go home, like I want to live in that moment. I want to be there with them.
Right.
Like me and my sons right now, we're doing something that's really cool. Every night we go out, we throw the blanket on the grass or it's artificial turf, and watch the stars. And, just doing those and living in the moment and doing that's
amazing. For
me, those are the memories that are going to be there forever. And I don't need that blasted everywhere. I don't need, that's just my, and that's selfish.
No,
but it's just my time with my wife and my kids.
On the flip side, my wife is the one blasting it everywhere. Right. So it's like it's out there.
No, my wife does it too.
But when it just comes to my stuff, I just like using it for my own business purposes, if you will. And I'll recognize family moments, but I do like trying to keep it a little private.
Absolutely.
Only in that area. I'm just very protective of my wife and my family. I think we all are, right? As humans,
absolutely.
That's just
man.
Yeah, it's been really something that I've really kept private. And it is what it is. Like I said, it's not right or wrong. People, see I'm the cooking guy. He talks about it all the time about how he puts his kids on and everything. And
it's amazing in the way he talks about his wife.
Yeah.
I think about that sometimes. Like, dang, Sam.
Right.
I feel like such a dick. I don't even wear a friggin' ring. But the reason is, and I'm sure you can relate to, I got fucking sausage fingers. Rings hurt.
They hurt, and I'll get like some my finger
That's
like
fucking
chafe or
hilarious.
something, and
Neither one of you have a wedding ring.
No,
on.
my hands
You're totally
go
both
numb.
married.
I wear
Fully
rings
married.
and my hands go numb, man.
Wow.
yeah, I'm over that.
What I do love, though, I did find those. Have you checked out? And I do wear them sometimes now. Those, they're I think it's like Qualo, Qalo.
Yes.
They make silicone
Yeah.
rings, and I'll tell you, most comfortable rings. I mean, it's the only wedding ring I will wear are these silicone wedding rings by Qalo. They're so friggin' comfortable.
Potential new you sponsor.
Yeah, right. they're way out of my league. They've got a fantastic digital presence, but their rings are so damn comfortable. Side note.
What's the thought for you? What do you want to do with that? What do you want to just keep growing it? And
Yeah, I really do. Organically.
Sure.
I know that's a played out term, but
everyone says like, "Don't." That's a horrible word. I'm like, dude, it's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Like, we could easily. Sean and I, when we first started doing this, have never tried to go out and get sponsorships. And I think it's just something that, for me, I think it's really cool that, look, we paid for everything. We did everything. This is all ours. No one's telling us what to do. It's just, we're very authentic and organic with our growth. We know we're not going to get to a million things right away, but if it happens, it happens, and it'll just be an organic thing. And they can talk shit about me saying organic, but I'll say it again. It's fucking organic. It's just what we are, who we are, and we're just going to continue to do what we do.
I mean, for me, I want to get it to a point where I can support my family doing it.
Yeah.
And then maybe one day have something to leave my kids and go, hey guys, I built this little, lifestyle platform for you guys. It has, articles and videos and podcasts around all these different lifestyle components that are near and dear to your dad's heart and a lot of people in Southern California. And it's a viable thing, and here you go.
Can you kind of tell our listeners exactly kind of what it is and
Yeah.
what you're doing with that?
Sure. It's essentially the idea came to me actually because during a couple of my I've just worked so many random jobs in this town trying to survive. Between radio gigs, at one point I took a job over at the San Diego Union Tribune, where I was the title was the Director of Lifestyle and Entertainment.
Wow.
Yeah, it was real fancy and just, oh man.
The Director of Lifestyle and Entertainment.
so
That's
stupid.
fucking hilarious.
It's
Like
so
an
stupid.
oxymoron.
I know. It's so
Can you really
lame.
direct that?
Fuck no. It was because I worked at 91X for 11 years and liked to
Yeah.
drink beer and surf. I don't know. It was just one of those things where I got in there and basically I was in charge of all their lifestyle and entertainment platforms online and print and all that stuff. And it was a really weird time at the paper anyway. It was when Doug Manchester.
Papa Doug
owned
yeah.
it. And Lynch and that whole weird thing. And I saw firsthand how these media companies were producing content. They had so many brilliant people there, but I also saw all the layoffs and all these people getting cut. And as a result, the content would suffer. And there's just such a huge hole and window, I thought, for just the stuff I love most about San Diego. And, and that's surf, snow, and skate, just the action sports component, mixed with this thriving craft beer community, this emerging cannabis movement, if you will, mixed with the music that we love and Mexican food. And it was basically that was the thought.
So into it.
How do we start a platform that just delivers content about those things, action sports, craft beer, music, weed, and Mexican food? So I said, wow, I really want to do that because I couldn't get a lot of these initiatives I couldn't get it done over at the UT, and I would try to get it done over at other places. Right. And I actually had done some podcasting at the UT, and I'm glad to see that they're doing that now. I think that's cool. But in any event, so when I was at my last radio job, I said, okay, I thought that radio gig was going to be something that could have gone on for a really long time. And I always said to myself, if it didn't or if something did happen, that this is what I was going to do. I was just going to go out and do my own thing and launch my own little digital platform. So that day came, it happened. I lost the radio job. I knew that I had 4 months running to get something off the ground, and just became hyper-focused on it and just built the platform from the ground up. I mean, I built it on WordPress, just got a theme. A buddy of mine who was the art director at Sector 9 Skateboards for 10 years, Nate. I hit Nate up and said, dude, can you design a logo? He's like, hell yeah. So he did this logo that I fucking fell in love with. And then my buddy Rob Malt, who worked at Sector 9 for a long time, also was a creative inspiration, helped me get the platform off the ground, along with this guy, Chris Cote, who I mentioned earlier, who's a longtime Encinitas resident. He was the editor of Trans World Surf for 10 years, and he's now a WSL announcer, commentator for the World Surf League, along with a lot of skating events for Vans and stuff like that. So kind of we all pooled our I'd say resources. We had none. We all pooled our visions together and said, let's try it. And then it didn't produce money, and everyone started fading, and still are committed. But I've been the one really carrying the flag and trying to keep it alive while trying to keep my family alive.
What do you think's the hardest part? Is it that sponsorship side, that sales side? Because I mean, when we talk to radio people, Jeff Dotseth, Dave Palais, I mean, we're so fortunate to have such an incredible local network of people that come to the butcher shop. They're friends with Cali Comfort, and
that's awesome.
They tell us. I talked to Jim Trotter, he worked at ESPN. He works at NFL Network, and we talk about the separation between management, sales, and then personalities, and how you're told and you're tasked to put out this certain content, but then they're out there selling something different.
Yeah,
and they're segmenting that content.
True.
And as a business owner, Derek and I, we both get pitched all the time for advertising at the Union Tribune, Reader, San Diego Magazine, wherever it might be. For us, it's got to be digital first so that we can actually use it in perpetuity, and it'll be on the internet. It'll live there.
So smart.
We can repurpose it on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, however we want to do it.
And that's what separates you guys from 95% of people right now, right?
Well, that becomes our competitive advantage, just that we're willing to look at it differently. How do you think you are going to approach it as a company?
Yeah, it's really about building audience, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, I can grab the sponsors, but then I need to deliver the results.
Sure.
And that's the thing. I get a good amount of downloads from the podcast, but you compare it to Adam Carolla or Mark Maron
Sure.
or, shit like that. And no, it's very local and regional, which makes it a challenge, when you're trying to support people. That being said, it kind of goes back to our organic, discussion about growing an audience organically, where if you can do that and put yourself in a position where you can monetize all these different areas of your business and your brand, that's really the goal for me, at least, where I don't have to rely solely on sponsors for a podcast. It could be, hey, sponsors in a podcast, and also we'll integrate you into our social media strategies.
Sure.
For Insta, Facebook, Twitter, or we'll do a content strategy for you on the website. Because that's kind of, to be honest, that's how I made most of my money. It wasn't off of the traffic or audience. It was more, I'll make you a sponsor, but I'll also write an article a week about your business and make sure it's SEO, it's optimized, and it'll show up on the first page of Google.
Sure.
And it'll be on my site. And that's kind of what I sold more than, hey, I get X amount of downloads an episode. They were into that, but they also wanted to see something and feel something tangible or see something. And the way to do that was by producing that blog post or pushing something out through Insta. I can give you an example. I got hit up. My wife and I literally opened a bottle of wine because I made $50 off the U Online Instagram. The wine was probably more than the money I made. But I got hit up by this company called
There you go.
One Wheel. And have you seen those skates? They're so fucking badass. They've got the one giant wheel in the middle. It looks like a skateboard, and people fly around on those things.
Our guy JC had one at our event.
Oh yeah, that's
Okay.
right.
He's running
Almost
around,
broke his neck.
running around with them all day. Yeah,
I want one so bad. They're expensive though. They're like $1,500. And they hit me up and they're like, "Man, we love your Instagram. Can we purchase a post?" I'm like, "Sure. How much?" I'm like, $50. I didn't know what to say. And they're like, "We'll Venmo you tomorrow or PayPal you tomorrow." And they did. And I swear I showed my wife and I was like, "I made $50 off the Instagram." And
Fuck yeah.
friggin' cracked a bottle of wine.
Fuck yeah.
Popped the bottle. It was fucking awesome.
That's
So-
crazy. Just last night, I watched a Netflix special. I think it's called Social Media, but it's totally fucked up. It talks about, the fat Jew. It talks about Paris Hilton, but it goes like behind the scenes to, the lifestyles that
It's scary.
we are living now. These are the lifestyles. These are people
It's true.
they're blending what's reality and what's not reality, what's news, what's not fake news. But like Paris Hilton, I mean, the Jenner,
the Jenner girl.
the Jenner girl, she was her fucking intern. Did you know that?
No.
Kylie Jenner was her fucking intern. Kardashian, thank you. Yeah, Kardashian. Kardashian was her intern.
Oh, Kim Kardashian,
Kim Kardashian was
Paris
Hilton's
Hilton's intern. I kind of
Isn't
remember
Is that insane?
I knew they were friends, but I didn't know that was the connection.
Yeah.
I knew there was
Crazy.
a connection. But it's the social media game, because that's the other thing that I've been doing on the side is just really immersing myself in the world. And I talk to a lot of these kids. They're in their 20s. And they've got these Instagram feeds that have millions of followers. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you they're making more money than I'm making.
right.
And they're doing, because that's the thing. Okay, I use that example of one wheel, $50. I've got 10,000 followers. Imagine the place that has 1 million followers.
Sure.
Do the math.
Yeah.
$50, 10,000 to 1 million. You could live off that.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
yeah.
sell enough of those deals, the money starts adding up. So you've got Instagram integration. Like I've talked to these kids up in Los Angeles that run a couple of feeds that have, collectively 3.5 million followers. And, I feel like a grandpa talking to these guys. But I'm like, "Hey, man, what's up?" And they'll tell me what's up. And
You're like, what the fuck?
it's nuts. Like I had a kid tell me straight up, "Why are you wasting your time on a website? No one gives a shit about a website.
Yeah.
Your Instagram feed, that's all you should care about." And I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
And you want to argue with them, but how do you argue with a kid that is flying all over the fucking world, traveling on other people's money, and crushing it just off his Instagram feed?
Yeah.
It's hard to argue that.
My stepdad was asking me for help, and Corey's helping him now, and he kept talking about how he just wanted to get a website. I'm like, stop. No one's like, it's good to have there, but don't give it too much attention.
Yeah.
You have to have your Instagram, you have to have your Facebook. And especially for my stepdad, he owns a car wash or multiple car washes. So people want that instant, like quick little video. They don't want to go to your web. They're not going to look at your website and see what deals you have. They're not going to do that shit. That shit's gone.
I agree.
So you have to have that Instagram, that presence. And once you do that, you're going to start to see people are going to start checking in. They're going to show their car. They're going to do different things. And people, that's something tangible that you can see. And it's actually working, and the way that we're doing it and Corey's doing it, is great, and people can see about who has an Instagram that for a car wash. Like this is something new, and like in the industry, people aren't doing that. Now he can be the innovative one in the industry. So it's
and then you can even one up who's got a podcast at a car wash.
Right.
It's the same thing, but it's how do you make the money and how do you monetize all the effort? So for me, just that's a long-winded way of saying at the end of the day, it's kind of a hybrid situation. I'm not into this for journalistic integrity. I'm into this because I'm trying to do it's a content marketing play. At the end of the day, I just, on my way over here, I was talking to the folks at Nixon, the guys who do the watches.
Yeah.
And all we were talking about was content marketing. Okay, you're going to give me X amount of watches that I can give away to you followers and subscribers in exchange for how many articles a month am I going to write about Nixon products?
Yep.
But my kids can't eat watches.
right.
That's the problem.
That is part of the
That's the
problem.
I guess one of the things I've been blessed with, and for the grocery store, 60% of my business is meat. So, whether it's our marinades or sausages or fish, 60% of everything we do is meat. So it allows me the luxury to do other things. So, 10 years ago when, the craft beer industry started blowing up, I was able to go do my sister-owned. I was one of the first certified sister-owns in San Diego doing all that stuff, which was really cool back then. But I didn't have to care too much because my revenue was coming from all my meat.
Sure.
So it's just something that I could have a passion with. And it's the same thing here. Now, all that stuff's taking off and it's doing well, but it affords me the luxury to be able to do this and not really have to worry about monetizing on it just yet,
I get that.
If it
man.
takes too much of my time, then it's like, okay, how we have to figure out something that's...
Well, I'm
that's
living
gonna
that
work.
now.
Right.
To that point, I've been doing some guest spots over at KFMB 100.7.
Yep.
And all that has done for me is given me the ability to I'm saying that like it's done nothing. It's given me the ability to feed my family, pay my rent,
Right.
and allow myself to kind of build this YEW platform and take some of the pressure off of me.
Right.
To that point exactly.
Right.
I've got 2 people that are going to start as full-blown employees. I'm just going to put on pay. I actually talked to her just last week, and I said, I said these words: as long as I'm working on radio or working in radio, I don't want to make $1 off the site. You manage the money, pay you what you need to pay you, pay contributors what they need to be paid, and I don't even care. I don't need to see it as long as, like you said, as long as I've got my meat,
Right.
And my meat is radio, as much as I try to really double down on doing my own independent thing. We all know how expensive it is to live in San Diego. If I was in Louisville or if I was in Poughkeepsie, or I'm just naming cities that have long names. But, it'd be a different sitch. I'd be like, whatever, man. Fucking rent's $400.
Yeah.
I get $1,000 from a weed sponsor. I'm covered.
Right.
But that's not how it works in San Diego when your rent's $3,000 a month.
Yeah.
It's what's happened in this city over there. I've been here for 30 years plus now. It fucking blows my mind, man, how hard it is to live in San Diego. The old adage of if you can make it, the whole New York, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. I'm like, fuck that, dude. If you can make it in San Diego, you can make it anywhere.
Yeah, it's gnarly. I mean, burritos are going up to fucking $8.
Yeah.
Just for a fucking
and our
burrito,
salaries
man.
go down $8.
Right.
Or pay, hourly, whatever.
Yeah. It's, we're fortunate to do that. And I think a lot of people get caught up in this process that they have to be doing something that they love all the time.
Yes.
And it's not always that, but you can do something.
A great point.
Like,
I'm guilty of that at times.
Yeah. With here, it's not like I enjoy flaying out fish and getting my hands and guts and doing that stuff, but it affords me the luxuries to do other things. Yeah. And so if you can keep that mindset that it's just, what you have to do to make sure that you can still maintain the relationships and do stuff that you love, well, then you have to go do that for a little bit. And that's just part of it.
And I've been humbled in ways that I'll tell you, I thought I'd been humbled in the past. And that's where life is just so brilliant, where it's like, you stupid son of a bitch, you silly you, where there are moments here these last couple of years, especially financially, where, it's heavy.
Yeah.
It's heavy, man. And it definitely humbles you and it makes you rethink. And I'm definitely reprogrammed. My mind and the way I work today is different than a year ago. No question.
Right.
And I'm sure therapy helped with that. Sure. And, whatever. But, I really credit it more to and attribute it more rather to life experiences. For sure. And the things that I've seen, and, I used to feel real sorry for myself during certain stages. And that was, kind of affiliated and associated with, because I love talking about mental health. Like if you guys ever want to get into that discussion,
absolutely,
whether now or another time, because I've learned a lot about mental health issues and have really done a lot of self-work when it came to my own mental health struggles that I ignored for years. And, I'm thankful that I had that time over the last couple of years to do that, but it also came at a price.
Was that through therapy?
Both. Therapy and mostly friends, though, tell you the truth. People who have been, most of my friends are all older. I have a lot of friends who are 60 plus, old surf dogs, people in the program, guys who run NA, stuff like that. I'm not in the program, but I learn a lot from those guys. Buddy of mine's a pastor. I roll with the whole, a pretty crazy kind of eclectic crew. And I'm so thankful to have these people in my life because they do teach me a lot about myself, a lot about life, and I'm able to, take their wisdom and apply it. We're all learning. They're still learning,
right.
and they would be the first to admit it. But the point being, though, that, you really do learn a lot about yourself. And during those times of despair, and there were times these last couple of years where I went to places I never thought I would go.
Sure.
And to be on the other side of that, it's fucking awesome. It really is.
Well, good for you for being able to talk about it too, because that's a scary place when you can't talk about it. When you're in this dark place and you can't even get.
I wasn't talking about it then.
Yeah. Right.
Well, I was to my friends.
Sure.
Friends and close family.
Have you used your platform at all to talk about mental health?
Not that much, to be honest with you, because I'm still learning.
It's tough.
It's tough too. You put yourself out there. Like I've always known I've always talked openly about having anxiety. But then I learned more about the anxiety and what's the basis of my anxiety, and why is it the way it is? Oh, because I have OCD. It's OCD based anxiety. All right, and then you throw these life experiences into the mix, and you're like, oh fuck. I didn't even know what PTSD was. I thought PTSD was just something that, pardon my ignorance, but I thought that was something that veterans got. I was just like, military people get PTSD. I've been diagnosed with it twice.
Wow.
From two separate occasions, one from childhood and then something that, a series of events from years ago that I used to talk about openly, but I used to say, it was more of a feeling sorry for myself bit, but it was also the only way I really knew how to respond at that time.
Sure.
It was just kind of like, oh, fuck, I was in that bunker just trying to protect myself.
I've shared couple times on this podcast my struggle with alcoholism.
Oh
and
man,
alcoholism
I'm sorry. It's so fucking hard.
I appreciate that. For me, I'm grateful to be sober, and that's only because I go to a program and I work the steps and I have a sponsor. And
so you are sober.
I am sober. It took me, after my second DUI to realize that I couldn't continue to run my business, live my life, and
you can't do
the things that I used to do. And I was a Hall of Fame drinker. I joke that if there was a Hall of Fame for drinking, I would fucking be in it.
Yeah.
But for me, it was that second DUI and knowing that I had a wife and knowing that this was the time. I had to get my shit together. And luckily that there were people there that were able to help me.
That's how I feel.
They were there, they listened, and I heard what I needed to hear to know that, hey, I need to take the right steps.
Me too.
To get my shit right.
Same. And it's hard hearing the bitter truth about yourself sometimes, facing your own reality.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Not easy.
No.
But that's also where the growth comes from.
It's not easy being a bar owner and also being an alcoholic.
Fuck no.
But there are other people that are in hospitality that deal with this shit.
Of course.
The lifestyle that we live. And you deal with musicians, radio. The amount.
You don't
of
think there are
mental
mental health issues in my profession?
No one fucking talks about it.
No one talks about it.
Absolutely not.
No one talks about it. Yet, we all, whether we're self-medicating or projecting, that was my big thing, is when things would get really shitty, I would project. I just felt like, project, and such the wrong way to handle it.
Defense mechanism.
Defense mechanism. I thought one of the things I thought was so brilliant recently, I really like that Pete Davidson dude, and it's not like I'm following all these Hollywood couples and Ariana Grande and shit, but I feel for that Pete Davidson guy because I know he lost his dad early in life, during 9/11, his dad, and he also struggles with depression and what have you. And I'll never forget during one of his rants about Kanye West, he said something along the lines of, I forget what it was, just because you're crazy doesn't give you the right to be an asshole or something, or I forget what the context was. It really hit me
right.
for whatever reason, which was like, even though I have mental health issues, whether it's anxiety or learning about my PTSD, that does not give me the right to treat others, differently.
Sure.
I got to heal myself. And you said it was always a defense mechanism because, you're just protecting yourself. Sure. It's a weird thing, and it's
tough.
It's tough
as men to talk about this shit. As men, as fathers. One of the things that we've been fortunate to have Dave Palais and Jeff Dotseth, both who've done a phenomenal job with their podcast, but they've been dealing with tragedy. It's been such a brutal year. Dave Palais lost his son.
I did hear about that.
His son, 20 years old, his youngest son. I can't even imagine.
Dude, I
and his dad.
And his father in the same year. His father committed suicide. He was on this podcast. And then later in this year, he lost his son and what they've had to go through. And Jeff's going through a divorce. But they're talking about that as men on their podcast. Who they've always they built their career talking about sports. They're not even fucking talking about sports. They're talking about life.
Well, I'll say this for Dave Palais. I went to the funeral or the viewing, or not the viewing,
celebration
of life. And the way that Dave talked when he spoke about his son is something. I mean, it was nothing short of amazing. I mean, how well he did to be able to articulate what he had to the community and how open he was, because his son died of fentanyl. And, his son had suicidal tendencies and was doing different things, and he was getting better. And he was, but Dave opened up about it to everyone in the auditorium and said, hey, everyone thinks that he killed himself. Here's what happened. And it opens up about everything. And then talks about how, the relationship him and his son have. And I mean, I couldn't help but breaking down during the thing, and he held it together. But to be able to do that and be so strong. I can't even
keep it together now. You're telling me this.
But it's just absolutely, it's wild to see the strength in Dave and his family. And, like you said, all the things that they've gone through. It was, touching, and it just shows you, you just have to be open and let it all be out there, because if you just hold that inside and you don't, let everyone talk shit on because he's a public figure, people are going to talk shit and say this or that or blah, blah, blah. Just saying, hey, here it is. Here's what happened. There's just, I give him a tremendous amount of kudos for just being the man he is. It's rough.
I can't even wrap my head around it. When I did hear the news, I wrapped my head around it and started crying. And I don't know him, but it's something that I think any human father,
Well, it makes you think. No matter what you do, it made me think about my kids dying, and it made you think about, like, okay, then who am I? What am I doing? What in my life? Well,
my whole life is devoted to my kids.
Right.
So if I hear anything that has to do, any father-son stuff. I mean, you just talking about him, I was sitting, all right, don't cry, because I saw the GoPro. I'm like, fuck. But any father-son thing, especially hearing what you just said, and a father expressing his love for his son. Right. There's nothing more beautiful to me on the planet than that.
It's amazing.
That's all I can say.
Yeah.
And I live my life for my family, my wife and my kids, man. I look at my kids, and that's my role. I used to think it's so funny when I think about my past on the radio and times in my life, especially during my tenure at 91X, when I thought I was a big shot and stuff. Oh, God. What a fucking joke, man. It really does. When you say stuff like that, it's just, and that's the way I live now.
Do you think that's regret, or do you think that's just perspective?
Perspective.
Yeah.
I really do, because there's regret. There's no question. I think it's a great question. Actually, no question. That's a great question, because there are regrets. I do have regrets. I do look back and say to myself, man, there are times in my life where I wish I didn't say the stuff I said, where I didn't know words sometimes had the power and value that I used to throw words out so casually, because I grew up in a household where my dad told me I was fat and lazy. So you just throw out words. What are words, man? You just throw the shit out. Right. It was just sticks and stones. It can break my bones, but words can never hurt me.
Right.
Garbage. Words can hurt.
And they can cut deep, too.
And cut deep. And there are things I've said, whether it's on air or off air or whatever, where I was never trying to hurt people per se. It was just more like fucking words. Just, hey, trying to be funny, trying to be cutting edge, trying to be a shock jaw, whatever. Right. And it's not real. And it's been, harsh realities, when you wake up and you're like, wait, you know what? That's not who I am. That's not who I am as a human. And that's part of it. When I look back, is just regret some of the stuff I maybe have said or actions I've done. But then I look at it, and then there's always two sides to every story. Right. Yeah. That's the other thing. I also have to cut myself a fucking break, and I think we all do as humans too.
It's always easy to be Monday morning quarterback.
Exactly.
And I could have done this
differently, and you get real down on yourself. But at the end of the day, there's always two sides to a story, And I'll tell you what I've really learned. The thing I have learned most, especially the last couple of years, as it relates to what we're talking about now, is silence. There's nothing more beautiful and powerful than silence. So there have been multiple occasions throughout the years here where I've wanted to spout out or scream from the rooftops. But man, the power of breathing and mindfulness and silence during those moments.
That's where the real power is. That's 100% where the real power is.
Yeah.
When you know you can say something and you have the restraint not to.
Yep.
That's true power.
Dude,
it's there's no faking that. It's so hard, and because it's that knee jerk reaction, you can do it.
Failed, and that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's the projections that I'm talking about, and all that stuff. Whether it's to a boss, your partner, a friend, that's what I'm talking. It doesn't matter who.
Right.
Anyone can be on the receiving end of it. I've been on the receiving end of it.
Right.
But it's all about taking responsibility for your own shit.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm really working on, especially these days, man. Life is so fragile, as you just pointed out with your story, about Dave, that if you're not mindful of how you are treating yourself, because it really does start with how you treat yourself.
Self-reflection, yeah.
It really does. How you feel about yourself. If someone's spouting off on Twitter or spewing shit, where in the past I'd want to engage and maybe go fucking head to head or find out where they lived, which is something I would do.
Right.
I've got a lot of Chaldean friends.
Right.
And there are times where people have made it personal, and there are times where I've been like, well, fuck, I know where you work, I know where you live, but now that's yesteryear, exactly my point, where now that same dialogue happens, and I swear to God, I'm like, fuck, I feel so sorry. I'm so sorry. Right. I really feel bad that you feel that bad about yourself, your place in life, that you have to attack me, go after me, or try to do something to make you feel better about yourself and take me down a couple of notches. Because guess what? There's nothing you can say to me that I haven't said to myself, but 100 times worse.
Right. Yeah, it's for me, I really think that everybody needs to get out there, and whether it's a little time to yourself or whatever it is, but just self-reflect and be self-aware of who you are. I get that time afforded to me when I go to Alaska. I have a cabin out there. I do a lot of hunting, and being in that stand or being tracking, doing my hunting, there's nothing. It's silence, just me and my thoughts. Yeah. And to a lot of people, that's extremely scary. To myself, that was extremely scary for a while. Now I actually look forward to it because I can see who I am, who I'm molding into being. And, I can say, okay, here's what I need to change. Here's what I don't need to change. Here's what I need to double down on, different things. And a lot of people are scared to do that. And that's where you find your most growth. That's where your growth comes from.
Again, it's the common theme, I think, of this. I hope I'm not too deep and this is
No.
Are you sure? Because I worry about that sometimes.
We don't have any upper management coming to knock down our door.
Yeah, and there's a proof. Yeah, showing my... I worry about that sometimes.
Yeah, right.
Here I am, self-doubt. Okay. Proving the madness. But you're right, though. For you, it's the cabin. For me, it's the water.
Right.
And that's part of my self-reflection. When I was in therapy and seeing some guy, fucking A, this guy was dope. I got to see him again. But I was like, why do I like surfing so much? I really didn't know. And he's like, I'll tell you. He's like, because you have OCD, you have anxiety. That's the basis of your being. And when you're out in the water, you have all these things going on that causes you to center. and causes you to be present. You don't have time to think and unravel and go down those rabbit holes or those wormholes because you lock in and you don't have time to think. You're just locked into the moment when you're riding that fucking wave. And when you're not riding that wave, you're locked into the motion of the ocean, the flickering lights, the way the sun hits the water, the way the water moves, the way the water builds, the way the tides flow in and out. Mm-hmm. You're too consumed in that type of madness and that type of magic, if you will, not madness, that the madness goes away. That's what I was going to say. And that's why I love surfing, because it's the only place I truly feel safe. Mm-hmm. I feel safer in the... You could tell me there's a shark sighting, great white shark sighting, triple overhead polluted water, and I'll still paddle out if I need to get my blue therapy. Sure. I'll be like, whatever. Right. I don't care. Take me down. At least I'll be in a good place.
That's a good way to put it. It takes the madness away.
It does.
And that's how, for you, that's what it does. And everyone just needs to find that, whatever it is.
And keep in mind here, even me, that's why I was like, I hope this, this isn't, I would address, like I said in the past, oh yeah, I've got anxiety. I've never really opened up about just accepting the fact that you have it and how to power through and work through life and give yourself a break. That's the part that I'm still learning.
And how to ask for help.
Yeah.
It's easy. I mean, me as an alcoholic, I had people, my uncle was an alcoholic, thank God, because he proved to me, not by pushing AA on me, but just by leading his life.
Yeah.
He proved to me that it could actually fucking happen.
And that's really what it comes down to, is actions of, actions.
Yeah.
Actions. Knowledge is nothing.
Surrounding yourself around the right people, too.
And that is the thing. Yeah. My circles have never been smaller. I swear to God. I work. I try to be a good person. And then I've got my group of surf friends, my family, and people I've known from high school. And that's it. Yeah. It's beautiful. And there are times where I'm like, man, I used to be so popular. I'm kind of joking, but, there were times where I used to really take,
No, you had FOMO, fear of missing out.
The whole FOMO thing mixed with...
Had to be there, had to be on.
Yes. Mixed with... I just thought, not he who dies with the most possessions wins, he who dies with the most friends wins.
Yeah. I
just loved having friends everywhere. Hey. And then you realize just how fake it all is, man. And it's so cliche, but you really do figure out who your friends are when the shit hits the fan.
Absolutely.
And the shit... I thought, as I said earlier, I thought the shit had hit the fan in the past, but nothing like these last couple of years in ways that, again, darkness I've never seen. And that's why now that I see the light, I know who the friends are, and it's easy to get disregarded, when you are in the shit, because especially, in the new age world that we were living in for a minute, we're out of it now. But for a minute, we were living in this whole yoga new age world of, cut the toxicity out of your life and, all that stuff. And it's still out there to a degree. But what if those toxic people are the people who are actually hurting the most and crying for your help?
Right.
And that's what it was I noticed in my case, where, I was fucking toxic, but I was also in a fucking gnarly depression, losing my mind, afraid that I wasn't going to live to see tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So... That's why it's so profound to me, and why I do have so much love for the people that are in my life, family and friends.
Well, it's such a testament to you as a man to share with us and share with our listeners the struggles that you have gone through. And, we did talk about how words can hurt. The words that you talk about and vulnerability, and men, as fathers, as leaders, as people that are trying to do whatever we can in 2018, moving into 2019, to be the best people that we can be. We just have to keep having those conversations.
I agree with you. I swear to God, and I believe in God, I'm trying to be better every day.
Yeah.
I swear to God, I'm trying to be a better human to my family, to my friends, to just anyone that I touch every single fucking day, man.
Yeah.
Every day. And that is my discipline. That's the life I live. To animals, my dog. My dog means more to me than anything right now. because I got my dog at the beginning of the year. That's kind of when I was at my lowest. The beginning of the year, I would say. I mean, last year was hard, but beginning of the year, I had lost. A lot of shit was going on. But we got this dog and my dog Bailey, and I really got the whole. I have a whole different take on, well, I don't believe in therapy roosters and therapy fucking ducks and all that stuff.
You don't bring those on the plane with you?
But I do believe in therapy dogs and the role that they play and service that they have, because my dog was so instrumental in my recovery, I'll tell you, for mental health, just having that little girl with me all the time. I live for my little dog. Like, even sitting here, I'm like, fuck, she's been in a cage since 11. Tripping. But yeah, I agree with you, though. I definitely agree with you.
Absolutely. So how can people interact with you? Where should we send them?
Yeah, anywhere. I'm on Twitter, but not as much as I wish I was more active on Twitter.
You're chasing Instagram.
I'm chasing Insta
following
these
the
days.
advice of a wise young man.
Some young buck who's good looking and banging all these women in fucking Rio. At Chris Cantore, pretty much everywhere. ChrisCantore. And then you YEWonline.com is where you can find all the content and all that stuff. Even though we had dialogue about websites being dead and all that, I still believe in websites and they still have a presence. And
you guys do a phenomenal job, man. You don't give yourself enough credit. You talk about it being a little tiny media company. You have legitimately doing the things that we admire.
Oh, you're kind and working on it. That's all I can say, man.
Hey, you're working on it, but people that listen to this podcast, you've got to check out Chris's podcast. He had some incredible guests: Tommy Chung, Andy Harris, who's been on our podcast twice, Ralph Rubio, Tony Hawk, Slightly Stupid. You've had a list of people.
You know what my favorite one is? Recently, I talked to Shavo, the bass player from System of a Down. Yeah. It was fucking awesome. He was such a nut. The whole time I was talking to him, he was smoking weed. Nice. And it was, dude, just blowing clouds in my face. And he's like, come on, hit it. And I'm like, oh, fuck. All right. There weren't cameras like there are now, so I can always deny it, but I guess
that was your Joe Rogan, Elon Musk moment?
Yeah, it was my Joe Rogan, Elon Musk. But he passed it to me at the beginning of the interview. So then I'm like, fuck, dude, I got so stoned. And I was talking to him, and the whole thing was about weed, and he's got his own weed company. It was crazy, but it was just the nicest fucking dude, and it was just so classic seeing. I just love seeing the brotherhood. They're all Armenian dudes, and seeing their brotherhood backstage. I love that shit. I love that shit. Like, I'm so open to other cultures. I mean, I am Italian Catholic dude, and like my son, I did a bris with my son. His pediatrician was Jewish, Dr. Schwartz, and he's like, hey, you want to do it the old-fashioned way? I'm like, may the Schwartz be with you. It's on.
It's on.
He gave me the clippers and the whole bit and the wine and the whole thing.
Wow.
Oh, it was awful. Oh, it was awful. I would never. I'll never cut a kid's foreskin again.
Well, people that are listening to the podcast, every week we do our social shout-outs. So those that are interacting with us, hashtag Behind the Smoke, Barbecue War Stories. This week's winner is going to a barbecue comp team out of Hagerstown, Maryland, at Harshman Barbecue. So we're going to send out a Behind the Smoke mug. Keep tagging us in your photos and your Instagram, Twitter. Follow you and Chris Cantore. We can't thank you enough, man. This was badass. We appreciate you revealing all that you did. Please tune into his podcast. Check out his sites. Follow him on social, and we will catch you next Friday.
Thanks, dudes.
Hey guys, this is Sean and Derek, and we just really want to thank you for listening to the podcast. It means the world to us. We'd like you to go check out BehindTheSmokeMedia.com. That's our website where we have barbecue resources for you to help build your barbecue business. We also have events listed, so anything that's happening in the West Coast barbecue movement, anything that's going on, we want you to go check that out so you can learn more and get involved. We also have show notes from all the episodes. So anything we talked about in the episodes, you can find detailed show notes there. Plus, you can just get in touch with us. It's important that we're here as a resource for you. So please reach out. Let us know how Derek and I can help you with your barbecue journey. Get involved, stay curious, and follow us on social at Barbecue War Stories. We'll talk to you soon.